Welcome to the Android Headlines episode podcast show number 4. My special guests tonight are Mike Stringer. How you doing, Mike? And Droid Mike Corbett.
Hello.
Tonight we're doing a little bit of a different show where we are going to be covering the top 10 Android news stories of the week. We'll be covering some features like the new X1, Sony, Facebook phones, Nexus Q, Google TV, Motorola Photon Q. Let's see what else. Apple lawsuits, piracy, Atrix HD review. We've got a whole lot of stuff to get covered in this show, so we will get right into it. And first, just want to check in with you guys, see how you're doing. How was your weekend? How was your weekend, Mike S?
My weekend was actually pretty good. I did so much work. Actually, no, I didn't do anything.
Hey, that's what weekends are for. Doing absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Droid Mike?
A lot of the same.
A lot of the same?
Anything.
Although, let's be honest, Mike, you usually don't do much anyways, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Mike was just researching for every little tidbit of Android you could possibly find out about. This guy, instant messages me at 2 a.m. in the morning. Did you see this? Did you hear about this? What about that? What about this? It's like, this guy eats, breathes, and sleeps literally Android.
Yep.
I don't get a moment's peace with this guy around.
Well,
24/7 Android. That's what you gotta call him.
I try to hit up Tom when you're asleep, though. So.
Oh, trying to get our guy who's on the 8 hours ahead of us, UK. So there's someone around to talk to.
Yeah. There's always got to be somebody for me to talk news with.
Well, I can say thanks for asking, but my weekend was slow. Hit up a couple of. Actually, no, I went to an art show this weekend. My first art show out in LA. Very interesting.
Ritzy.
Yes. Well, it wasn't exactly ritzy. It was struggling, starving artists. And hit the movie Savages. It was fun. And off at the mall today. Typical weekend in LA.
Sure.
So let's get off of stuff that's not about Android. Let's start talking some Android. I wanted to hit our number 10 story of the week, which is HTC X Plus is potentially making its way to T-Mobile this September. Now, I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to read about that much. I know Mike was actually, you had hit up the story. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not too much on it right now. From the sounds of it, it's pretty much going to be just like the HTC One X on AT&T, except it's going to have supposedly a quad-core Tegra 3, 1.7 gigahertz. It was.
Isn't this supposed to be the Plus model that's got the LTE version in it? Well, even though it's T-Mobile, but the LTE chip.
Yeah. So and that's really all the stats we have on it. There's not really any specs right now.
Well, I think T-Mobile customers will just be happy to have a nice, powerful X1 in their lineup as something they could take on.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're a T-Mobile customer and are planning on upgrading soon, I would definitely wait for it. What's up with these poor T-Mobile guys? Or I feel sorry for the T-Mobile people, and actually I'm one of them. Getting our Samsung, this isn't even a Galaxy Note from T-Mobile, this is an AT&T version. But they're just getting the Note now and just getting the X1. I'm surprised that they're not getting the Galaxy S3 sometime around Christmas. They seem to be getting a little bit of the not the luck of the draw.
They've been not spending their money on a true 4G LTE experience. That's what they've not been spending their money on. So, they're busy.
Wow. I remember when Sprint, they used to not really get any decent phones, and then finally they eventually turned around and, they got the Galaxy S3, and then they got the iPhone and all this other stuff.
Yep. The new Evo, the old Evo.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, they've had a pretty, since they tried to sell their company to AT&T, they were in quite the hold pattern, and their lineup of phones definitely took a big hit. It seems like there really wasn't a whole lot coming into the pipeline. Now we're starting to see some new phones getting rumored for them. The HTC One X Plus definitely will be a nice addition to their lineup. We'll see when it comes out. They're talking about September. Let's move on to our number 9 story of the week, which is Sony confirms that there will be no Jelly Bean for any of its 2011 phones. Oh my God, that's a little scary.
Yeah, sounds like they're a Sonokia to me.
Yeah, I mean, Sony already isn't doing that great with their line of smartphones, and to not, I mean, 2011, that was just right around the corner. I mean, come on,
7 months ago,
keep things updated. Otherwise, you're gonna alienate your customers, and they're just gonna go to a competitor.
I don't know what 18 months means to Sony, but 18 months is what you're supposed to support your phone for.
I don't think they got the memo, Mike. They didn't get the memo.
Oh, you know what? I never emailed it to them. Oh, no.
That's why everyone wants to blame somebody. You can now blame Droid Mike.
I'm just going to get on that.
Sony never got the memo because he failed at it.
All your fault.
Well, they don't call me Live View Mike. They call me Droid Mike. So.
That's right. Okay. Now, Sony, I mean, they've had a hard time really, entering the North American market, at least from my eyes.
Well,
they've...
It's definitely true.
They've really had a hard time pushing out their phones. They have some nice-looking phones, some nice-looking software on their phones. One of the problems that we've had with Sony is that they like to use last year's hardware. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, they never get the memo on what's the newest hardware out there, but they always seem to be running about a year behind everybody. Right now, they're running mostly dual-core chips that were in feature phones last year. I don't know what's up with that, but I was part of a panel with Rogers in Canada, and we got to take a look at some of the new devices from Sony. And it was around the time that dual cores were out, around midsummer, right in the height of dual core season. And they were dropping a new phone, and it was a single core. And I asked, this management guy, what was up with it, and he more or less, kind of blew it off, saying, that the experience was, just as good as dual core, and we didn't feel like it was really something the consumer needed, and we're going to look to bring out, some, dual core phones in the future. And it's like, well, I hope so if you want to sell some.
Yeah,
we all see what happened to BlackBerry, them having outdated hardware on their phones.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't help for sales, and if they really, I mean, their phones look decent, they kind of all look the same, but they got their own look to them. They got nice cameras on them. Some of the UI can be a little weird, but it can also be a little bit different outside the box. I think if they stepped up the hardware, they potentially could have definitely decent sales or phones.
That's true. Their phones look good. I mean, I had a coworker that I told him Sony made phones, and he kind of looked at me all stupid. And so I showed him some of the Sony made phones, and he's like, "Oh, what network is that on?" where can I get that phone? And he's been an iFan recently, and he's thinking about switching to Android, and just now seeing all the possibilities. But he just keeps looking at him and going, where can I get this one? What's that? And I'm like, I think most of these are actually overseas right now. And he's kind of like, oh, all right then, and just kind of moseys off, isn't too happy about it.
Well, Sony definitely has a strong foothold in the UK, and actually they are fairly popular in Canada. They have a strong relationship with Rogers. But these guys are kind of getting it wrong. They're just starting to get into the quad cores. They're gonna, we'll probably see a quad core for what, Christmas. Their phones from last year are not getting updated to Jelly Bean. Just kind of seems like Sony's about a year behind when it comes to everything. And that actually brings us on to our number 8 story, which just so happens to be, again, Sony, is that they're refusing repairs on phones with unlocked bootloaders. So they're definitely not winning over any, fans in this area either. It looks like they're refusing to repair customers that have unlocked bootloaders on their devices. Customers that have reported that they're sending them in and they're returning them with no work done because of an illegal unlock. I do have and understand why, some guys don't, once a phone's been rooted, they don't know what's taken place. It's kind of a gray area sometimes, but, usually if you can restore the phone back to a factory settings and it's not running the ROM, I don't see why they shouldn't repair it. What do you guys think on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this kind of stuff kind of annoys me because with smartphones and stuff, if you root your phone, that can void the warranty from the carrier and all this stuff. And I can kind of see why they have that stance, but I think as long as the hardware on the phone is still, as long as they can find that you didn't screw up the hardware, I don't understand what the problem is with running this custom software.
I 110% agree, and I'm sure everyone else in Android land definitely would. You would think also, too, with a company that's running, operating systems that are a year old and running hardware that's a year old, a lot of their customers are probably rooting and ROMing their phones so they could make them current. Because they're selling outdated hardware to begin with.
Yeah, and if the
just trying to do a favor and make them current.
Yeah, and then if the manufacturers would just update the damn phones, there wouldn't be all these issues with people, unlocking them and running all this custom stuff.
Yeah, half of them just want to get it to ice cream sandwich or Jelly Bean anyway. They don't care if they have a ROM on there or not. It's just like, well, I wanted it on this custom software.
Right. People just want the most recent version.
Well, hopefully Sony will change their tunes around, start updating to the latest Android operating system. I mean, they're kind of becoming, in my eyes, when I see Sony news, and I don't mean to be biased, but when I see Sony news running across, I'm like, whatever. It's kind of like a phone from China to me. And they sell a lot of them in China, by the way. But it's basically, it's like a phone from China. It's not really anything that's in North America. How many people in North America are actually buying these things? They're not too mainstream. So I definitely think that they're out of the game in North America. They need to step up. Definitely their hardware and their software. Changing that around is going to be a good way to get started with that. Let's get on to our number 8 story of the week. Sorry, actually number 7 already, because Sony took up for 2. Number 7 story of the week is Facebook reportedly working on an HTC phone for mid-2013. Okay, and I just want to let everybody know they're talking about making a phone that is just besides a dedicated button. It's going to have other things.
Right, it's going to have the
last
whole
one just came with a button.
Oh, hold on. I just got Facebook reshare from a bunch of friends that said not only will Facebook be paid site next year, there also will be no Facebook phone. So sorry guys, no good on that one.
Oh, I don't know about that, Mike. And this is why we're bringing it up.
Yeah, the Android users are saying it's happening in a couple sites, right?
Well,
and then Zuckerberg's like, no, it's not happening. We're not doing anything like that.
Yeah. Zuckerberg came out on the Q2 earnings call and basically said that Facebook phone wouldn't make sense for them to do. So, I mean, of course, sometimes people and companies come out and completely deny things even though they're going to do them. So, who knows?
Especially on an earnings call.
Yeah.
How bad's that going to look on an earnings call to be like, oh yeah, so we're going to do this, and I know the old one did really, I know the old one did really, really bad, but we're still going to do another one. No, we're not. I think that's more or less the idea behind it all. Is they aren't going to do another one, or they are going to do another one, but he said they're not, just to make the investors happy.
I got some strong views on this, but I have some late breaking news. We have Randy Orwood has just joined us near Cincinnati. A little late to the show, but nevertheless, still made it. Great to have you on the show, Randy. Thanks for showing up. Better late than never, buddy.
Yeah, that's one of Randy's rules to live by.
Mm-hmm.
Better late than
How you
never.
doing, Randy?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Doing great. I'll just clue you in on what we were just about to get into a heated debate about. Was our Facebook reportedly working on an HTC phone for mid-2013 launch. Now, Mike was just saying that, one of the Mikes was just saying that we had old Zuckerberg saying, no, not going to do it on a quarterly phone call. And I have some opinions on it, but I wanted to see what you guys had to say on it first. What, you got any 2 cents for that there, Randy?
Well, yeah, they're probably not smart enough to have learned their lesson from the first go around. I don't know what's already been said about this, but
kind of what I said. Yeah.
They're going to put a like button on it this time. Besides a dedicated Facebook button, they're also going to put a dedicated like button on the phone.
With any luck.
Yeah, that should make it that much better. Yeah, I don't think there's any way that they can avoid it. If you've watched their stock here lately at all, they're getting hammered.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, at least part of that is that's due to mobile and their lack of a real sound and solid.
I was me clapping because you were saying exactly what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what? The updates don't appease you? The ones that say it's going to make it faster, but then somehow make it slower?
Yeah, well, like Randy is saying here is that what Facebook is having a hell of a time with getting mobile advertising to work for them. Just their whole advertising platform is kind of, bungled up. They don't really have a clear-cut, path on the revenue streams. Definitely in the advertising section, and especially in the mobile section, they're having a very hard time, making money and making it work for them. So how does this apply to a phone? How does this apply to Android? Well, in my belief, where it's all going to tie into is that they need to get mobile advertising, obviously, out in the forefront. And what better way to do that than to have their own type of phone where they can integrate their mobile advertising on a much larger scale than maybe, a little banner ad at the bottom or, trying to stick it in between, updates and so on. They can actually embed advertising and work with, their advertisers, their publishers. They can sell whatever the hell they want. And I think where we might see Facebook, and Android integrate is there's obvious that we're not going to see Facebook come out with, try to build their own mobile operating system like maybe a Firefox or somebody else thinks that they can do. Why? There's no reason to. iPhone and Android, have great operating systems. They're not going to mess around with trying to get into that game. That's too expensive, too costly, and guaranteed to fail. What they're going to do is go to Android. Android's open. Android's something that they can jump into right away. They can get into a forked version of, let's say, an Amazon-style operating system / Android, whatever the hell you want to call it, without, spending too much money and still getting the same effect, without spending a whack load of money. And they have to get into the mobile industry, along more than just having an app. They want people playing games on there, which obviously you can't play their Facebook games from these mobile versions. You can't play it almost from your phone, at least. I know I can't on mine. So they definitely need some better mobile integration. And I think that Android is really going to be the only way that they're going to be able to do it and not, sink a couple of $1 billion and lose huge dollars in revenue shares over the long term of trying to get this thing implemented. I don't know if we're going to see anything anytime soon, but I guarantee we're going to see HTC, who, maybe not the most successful Android manufacturer, in there with Facebook to making a Facebook phone come next year. And I will bet my bottom dollar that this will happen, regardless of what Zuckerberg has to say.
I'm sure it'll happen. It's just,
Well, I mean, if it's going to happen, it's got to happen soon, because if they wait too long on this, it's going to be dead in the water once it hits. And, hey, it might even be dead in the water if it hits soon. But, I mean, recently they rolled out the whole app marketplace on Facebook, so it's clear that they want people to be using the app. So it would make sense to be able to use all these different, be able to play all these different games and use all these different apps right there on their own phone.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, and part of their problem is, you see, is that application, it really, everyone's used Facebook, and there's lots of people on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. There's tons of different things you can do on there. But their application is really limited in a sense. And, either they haven't spent time on building it out, or just, they are limited in what they can do. And potentially with a phone, dedicated phone, they can throw in a lot more options. And as well, also, what do they have? 1 billion potential customers? That's a lot of people.
Right around that
you
many.
could potentially sell that phone to. Yes, 750 million of them either have an Android or an iPhone, but there's a lot of people who are not really smartphone savvy who are on Facebook. I have relatives who live, eat, breathe, and sleep Facebook, and they don't really care what phone they buy. And if they, a Facebook branded phone might sell to them.
It might, yeah.
And two, you have to consider the privacy concerns that have been about, with all this stuff. But I really don't think people care too much about privacy. I think people say they care about privacy. I think they say they care about privacy, but most people don't, because despite all these privacy concerns, Facebook is still growing, and they're almost at 1 billion users. So
exactly. If people are so worried about their privacy of their data and stuff, no one would ever go on Facebook.
Yeah.
Fuck Facebook.
Sure.
Facebook. All right. Our number 6 story of the week is, just wanted to touch base on, is the Nexus Q. It sold out in one day on the Google Play Store.
They sold all 50 of them in one day?
Mm-hmm.
It was 25, Randy. Don't try to push it.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, we've not actually heard numbers on that one. I heard it was closer to 1,000, but you just don't know. I kind of think they probably did put it pretty low, considering that when I was walking around I/O, a lot of people were like, "What's this actually do again? How does this work?"
What does it actually do again, Mike?
Well, I have one, and I actually use it a lot. Believe it or
Okay,
not.
what do you use it
Justin
for?
uses his a lot too. I use mine because a lot of my friends like to watch YouTube videos, and now they've got the sharing feature where you can share with your friends, and they can just come over and access your Wi-Fi and add videos to the queue. And then my wife and I will just use it for listening to music off the TV. She can add songs to the playlist. I can add songs to the playlist. It's just kind of a good way to share good funny YouTube videos with your friends without huddling around a 13-inch laptop. It's not a good price point, but it is a good way to do it.
Yes, it is the most expensive YouTube streamer I have ever seen.
It's being sold as a YouTube streamer, but it does have a lot hacked onto it. I know my mom and dad aren't probably going to hack anything onto it, and most users that are, well, then again, most users that are probably looking to buy it probably are going to hack things onto it because my mom and dad also don't know that play.google.com/store even exists. So really, the people that purchased it probably were looking to do something hacky with it. One of the cool things I guess they have now is the XMBC player, which allows you to play any media format off of it, which is kind of cool.
Well, yeah, and they've even managed to get apps working on it, and so you can play games and whatnot.
Signage and Mod 9 is on it officially now. So.
Randy, you're a big music streaming guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I tend to be.
Does this product appeal to you from what you've seen?
Well, I mean, I haven't actually seen one or used one, but it.
Well, they're all sold out. How could you?
Yeah. Well, I guess I could have gone to I/O and gotten one. Anyway, I'd have to say no. Between Roku and Google TV, I've got access to Rdio, I've got access to Pandora, I've got access to my Google Play music library. I mean, I've got almost 20,000 songs on my Google Music online library. No,
But you can't share it with other people, though. That's why you need the Nexus Q.
So actually, I can actually share it with other people if they're here in my house and they're listening to it from the sound system on my TV. How about we just turn that TV on and use that Roku or that Google TV, and we'll listen to it that way.
That was the weird thing that they were like when they got up on stage. It was impressive that you could, but when you sat back and thought about it, it was kind of like, wait a second, why don't they just tell me the song they want to hear, and I'll just look it up. That'll be easier.
Yeah, I mean, you can use the remote for the Google TV or the Roku to search for anything that you want to listen to. Pick the damn remote up. Why do I have to do it for you?
Plus you've got the awkward friend that's like, oh, I want to listen to this country western song, and you're like, no. And they just put it on there, and you're like, I'm going to veto that decision.
Yeah, at $2.99, I'm really not all that interested. At $1.99. You got my attention. If it comes in anything less than that, I think
$99 is the sweet point for a product like this. When this product came out, I was like, why is this thing not $99?
It's the amplifier.
It's made in America. There's an amp. Those stupid-ass banana plugs that they've got on the backside of it, 25 LEDs to make it glow real funny, and that mechanism where you spin the top half to turn the volume up or down, that stuff's not cheap.
Well, I don't know if I want this social streamer for the socially inept people so they can become more social. Is that
I definitely think it's got potential as a hacked device. I've had a lot of people that said, $2.99? No. And then I explained to them what it could do, and they're like, oh, well, if that was social, or if that was acceptable, and Google was actually saying, no, go ahead and do this stuff, or if they provided the information on how, then it's like, yeah, I can see it as a $2.99, no problem. But a lot of people right now are saying, no, $99. $99 is what I'd pay.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't appeal to the average consumer. it appeals to the geeks, the hackers, and I think Google knew this, and they planned on this, so they're wanting to see what people do with it, and then in the next version, which will likely be cheaper, then they will, bring out more functionality and based on the ideas of what people came up with.
I think there was 6,000 Google I/O beta testers on the Nexus Q, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. And whoever chooses to buy it from then on out, we'll just help them make a better device for next year.
Sounds like we better wait for the Q2.
Yeah.
Keep the amp.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm going to get on to our next topic is number 5, the Vizio Co-Star. This mini set-top box Google TV sells out in under 12 hours. I'm surprised. I'm pretty hard on Google TV, but I was surprised that it sold out in 12 hours. Again, of course, there could be 50 of them. But at $99, I think a lot of people are probably willing to give it a crack, give it a go, see what it's all about. I think, Vizio did a good job. They priced it right. Definitely couldn't have been any worse than the last one, which was just horrid, especially at the price point. Obviously, it came down. But for a Google TV at $99, it comes with 2 HDMI ports, USB 2.0 port, LAN, Ethernet cable, and, it's Google TV, and it's not a Logitech review. At $99, it's worth giving it a try. Mm-hmm. At that price, I think we all can afford to give it a try. I don't know how much longer Google TV is going to be around at the rate that they're promoting it, but seems like a decent price point to get into the home. Any opinions you guys want to share on this?
I think TV's actually picking up steam.
Really?
I've seen quite a few people on my Google Plus saying things about how they're using the Nexus Q feature of flipping your YouTube and your music over. It'll be on the Google TV soon, I guess, some kind of AirPlay feature. I'm sure it's going to expand more broadly than just, play movies, play music, and YouTube. Hopefully, anyway. Otherwise, it won't do a whole lot of good, but...
Have you got the review, Randy?
Yeah, I have the review. I've had it for about 6 or 8 months, I guess. Maybe a little bit longer. I accept its shortcomings. I mean, it's not without problems, but the concept of Google TV I really like. It's located, the only one that I have is in my family room, which my family doesn't spend a great deal of time in the family room, but I love the thing for searching for shows. It'll search my DVR. I have DirecTV, so I can't directly control and set a recording from a search result, but I love what the thing actually does. And this Vizio box, I'm definitely in on that. When I bought my first Vizio TV, I bought it because of the price, and then every one that I bought after that was because I loved the first cheap one that I bought. So, if they come out with something like this for $100, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, if you definitely want to try out Google TV at $99, that's a good price point. Seems like they put together a good product. Hopefully we can see the Google TV team come with some fresh new updates. We were hoping for a little bit more at Google I/O from them. Unfortunately, I think people were a little bit let down, but maybe we'll see something this fall in regards to it. I think, the fact that it's showing that it's sold out, there's some more interest in it. I ran a little, just a Q&A the other day on Google Plus and asked how many people, of our readers actually have a Google TV, and we must have got 30, 40 responses. And, and obviously you got to remember that's, small sampling during a work day, and people that just happened to be on Google Plus at that time. And I was quite surprised to get that type of feedback. I thought, I was going to get 5 guys tops or something like that, but no, we got 30, 40, guys were talking about set-top boxes and as well their TVs and stuff, so there's definitely a strong following out there, and I'll be the first one to say that. Strong.
It's a lot better than most people give it credit for. It's certainly more useful than most of the technology blogs that review it or bash on it or whatever,
like
say that it is. Yeah, like you. It's not half as bad as people want you to believe that it is, but it's hindered in terms of streaming content. It's really hindered by not only the sites that block it, but when you look at a Roku or a Boxee, just the availability of the streaming content. Chrome on the review, it totally sucks, and if the first Vizio box suffers the same slow performance and crashing that this does, I'm out forever. I don't need it that bad. But it's a better device, and it could be better with more content. I think the Roku's up to 500 unique channels with content, or with unique content. Boxee has far less, but far more than the Google TV. So it has a future, but I think that the poor Google TV is now in kind of a sink or swim state with Google.
Well, we'll definitely see. I think I agree with you, Randy. I think that they're going to be on the bubble in the next year as to where this thing's going to go. I had hoped for that we would see more integration, especially with all the smart TVs that are out there. You would have figured that some of these TV companies would have just adopted, the Google TV, so they didn't have to mess around with doing that stuff. And Sony and a few other companies seem to be the only ones that got into that game. I was hoping we would have saw more, and obviously the content as well too is what Google has to offer. It would have been nice to see a little more.
That's precisely, I think, why more smart TV manufacturers or manufacturers of smart TVs didn't get on board, because with content, it's way too limited. You have Sony that had the Google TV integrated into their sets, and I went into Micro Center and sets that at one time were selling upwards of $1,200. They were here's $100. Let me carry that out to your truck for you. We'll give it to you. And I think it's the lack of content. When Sony's TV apps are horrendous, but they have content. They have things that Google TV doesn't. And the same with Samsung. They're supposed to be a partner, and they're supposed to be integrating Google TV into some of their sets, but they're pushing their own Samsung smart TV platform or whatever the hell it is. So, integrated into TVs, as soon as Eric said it, that by summer half of TVs on the market would have Google TV built in, not this
Wishful
summer.
thinking.
Yeah, not this summer.
For sure.
Well, and two, Eric Schmidt has been known to kind of blow things out of proportion. So.
You think? All right, guys, enough of Google TV. Let's get on to our number 4 topic. Number 4 topic is Kansas City gets their daily dose of Google Fiber. They have been the city selected to get the Google Fiber, internet service provider for all of Kansas City. Well, maybe not so quick, but they're going to be definitely getting selected, what do they call them, hoods that are going to get 1,000 megabyte download and upload. Sorry, Mike?
Fiber hoods.
Fiber hoods. Awesome.
That's what they're calling them.
They're going to get 1,000 megabyte downloads, and it's supposed to be about 100 times faster internet connection than most people have today. And you're going to be looking at about $120. That includes TV, nice Google tablet, selected TV content, and as well PVR and NAS storage, all for that beautiful price of $120, which is pretty good. $70 is going to get you their gig internet access as well too. And they're also going to be giving out free 5 megabyte connections for people, I think, that they sign up on like a contract or something. They get it free for 7 years after paying like a $300 construction fee. Mm-hmm. I think this is a great thing. I think it's. I mean, there's some some things that we're going to talk about about the shortcomings, the pros, the cons of it. But what are your guys' initial reaction when you first heard this? Who wants to touch base on that first?
I think it's awesome because honestly, who wouldn't want gigabit internet and TV for $120 a month? It's a no-brainer. And also, by the way, with the $120 a month package, you also get 1 terabyte of cloud storage as well with all that. Yeah.
Totally.
So it's really nice. And
Evan.
yeah, and what I also found out today. Yeah. And I also found out today that actually not neighborhoods, but fiber hoods that reach a quota of pre-registrations, if there's any hospitals or schools in that area, if they reach their quota of pre-registrations, Google will wire those hospitals and schools for free. So
I read a guy went door to door. He has his own business, and I guess he hired an employee just to go door to door to make sure people knew what this was.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, very nice. Randy, you want some Google Fiber?
I'd love to have some Google Fiber. And Mike, they're wiring all schools in Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, regardless of fiberhood status.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, what I read on The Verge was that all schools are going to be wired in the 2 cities. And The Verge, I just read on The Verge before I hopped on this hangout that 20% of those fiber hoods already qualify for a build-out. So I'd love to have it. Gigabit, I mean, I'd take 50 megabit,
Oh, yeah. It's like $300 for anything like relatively close to that already.
Yeah. Fios only goes up to like 300 megabits, I think.
Yeah, Comcast, I think, too, as well. And it's pretty pricey as well, too.
For I'm in an Insight area, Insight Cable, which was just bought by Time Warner, and for $100 with them, you're stuck down in the 30 and I think 30 and 3 or 30 and 5 range. So yeah, I mean, I'd kill for that. And I don't think I think in my lifetime I'll see Google Fiber in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you live in a bad neighborhood, don't you, Randy? That's why.
No, I'm saying I will see it. I will live to see Google Fiber.
To see it. You plan on moving?
No. They're just getting started.
Great. Yeah, I think they'll go fast when they finally go.
Well, this is kind of where we get we'll get into some of those things there. Some of the pros that I think is going to be great about it is the price. The pricing thing is going to be awesome because besides a great price for 1,000 megabyte download, the other internet service providers are going to have to compete with this.
They can't.
Or they're going to have to try it.
Yeah. They have no choice. Google is completely disrupting the entire market. Competitors have absolutely no choice but to up their game or lose customers if Google Fiber expands.
They can't.
I say CenturyLink is gone by the end of 2013, probably, because they can't compete.
No, and most of them
customers 1.3 down for $30. It's like no, or 1, 2, 3 down. Excuse me, from 1 to 3 down, not 1.
Well, most of them probably don't have the vision to probably compete with what Google is doing. So the good stuff is going to be you're going to see maybe a lowering of the price points from some of these guys who have held us hostage in the price points, and the type of services we get. Just, kind of like we've seen the evolution of smartphone pricing somewhat. But yeah, definitely we're going to start to see some better pricing, of course, because it's only in a certain city right now. It might be just some really awesome internet service pricing in Kansas City right now. But as it expands, hopefully that will improve. The other thing is the no bandwidth caps. Obviously with the Google service, there's going to be no bandwidth, and this is what a lot of internet service providers are thinking that this is going to be their bread and butter of the future Because as we're starting to use Netflix and downloading this, larger files, HD this, HD that, you know, and some guys, you know, using their entire TV experience through their computers, that, you know, they're going to be able to, you know, make their money off of people's data consumption. With a Google setup, with no bandwidth caps, you know, if they want to be competitive, they're going to have to obviously offer something that's going to be in the same, you know, realm. Mm-hmm. I for one definitely love no bandwidth caps. That's for sure. Cause
well, and two, you got to think with how fast this internet is for cities that get completely wired up with Google Fiber. You know, the thing about, you know, public Wi-Fi networks, it might, Google Fiber might make it to where you don't even have to use your data connection through your carrier on your phone when you're around town. You just hook up to all these different free Wi-Fi spots, and you have these crazy fast speeds that surpass what you can get with any carrier right now.
Yeah, that could be interesting too.
And the storage you had mentioned as well too. We're talking about a 2 terabyte hard drive as well. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a huge hard drive. A lot of people don't have that in their own personal computers, even close to that. You know, and never mind, you know, the 1 terabyte of cloud storage as well on top of that. That's going to be great for PVRing and stuff like that. Now, we've talked about all the good stuff. Where do you guys see some of the negative stuff? I got a few comments I want to throw in. You know, where do we see what could be some of the negatives that we could see out of this? Any guys want to throw anything in on that?
They could get people a little overzealous and maybe getting too many customers, and then rollout could take quite a while longer. That could be a negative.
There's definitely a potential a little bit for that. Randy?
No, go ahead.
You have any thoughts on what type of issues this Google Fiber might run into?
I don't really see build out. Fiber's like it's like cable or copper. It's like a spider web. You know, you only have to build kind of the main branches, and then, you know, hitting everybody's house. I don't think the build out will necessarily take so long, but the one thing that really jumped out at me when I first read about this was the privacy concern.
No.
Now, you know, absolutely everything that you do is going to run right through Google servers, and then, you know,
that's what they want.
Yeah, and to touch on what Mike said, I think Google could conceivably build a Wi-Fi mesh network that covers the entire country, and then they don't need carriers. They don't need anybody else. They just need their fiber and their Wi-Fi mesh network.
Yeah. Watch Google Voice become something completely different.
I think there's going to be a bit of a rollout type of problem. I mean, part of the problem is the installation firsthand. That Google really doesn't have the trained technicians.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing though. They're not going to be hiring a bunch of new people to just for Google Fiber to install. They're going to be going to their competitors who already have people that are
Those are the
installing
same guys
stuff.
that you complain about installing the shitty services that you currently have.
Cincinnati Bell here has fiber in areas, and maybe 1 out of 20 installations is done by a Cincinnati Bell employee. The other 19 are done by a contractor. And the contractors with this fiber stuff, these are high-paid guys that really appreciate the high-paying gig that they have, and they do a great job for you.
That's what I was going to say. Google was going to treat their people a little better than Comcast, who's yelling at them on the phone. You got to be at 5 other meetings right now.
You can train a retarded monkey to install cable, but this fiber optic stuff, you know, that takes a guy with some skill, with some training, and you're paying that guy big dollars, you know, for all that. The fiber installations are nothing at all like the Comcast guy sleeping on your couch watching porn on your internet connection.
Well,
just testing it for you.
Well, what part of the problem also I see with the rollout is that Google had estimated that they're going to be looking at about 50% of fiber hoods by about mid-2013. with a full rollout of Kansas City by the end of next year. So, I mean, that potentially, you know, you could be looking at, you know, what, 2014 before everyone could have, or everyone that signed up for could get Google Fiber. That is a little bit of a problem.
I think long
Yeah.
term.
I don't know about you, but I don't know about you, but I wouldn't mind waiting a year for something like that.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for 3 years for Cincinnati Bell to run fiber to my neighborhood. You know, if I had to,
Let's see. When did I work for CenturyLink, or Quest as it was called back then? Oh, I don't even know. Probably over 6 years ago.
That long ago.
And they still don't have fiber in the area, in the areas around me. So I'm willing to wait.
What about, do you think, Randy, what about the content problem? Because I heard that they have a limited 116 channel lineup. That's enough TV for me. But you know, there's still a bit of a problem with the content providers there as well too.
They'll come around if Google, if Google can sign people up for the TV part of the package as well. The content ESPN, they won't have
Wow, that sounded horrible.
I thought it was just me.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Randy.
I think Randy needs Google Fiber. Sorry, Randy, your connection.
You can't seem to hear us.
Hair wire.
But
We have entertainment here. Sorry, Randy, you're expensive. Become the entertainment of the Android Headline Show. And I think we've lost him. Batteries become frozen in time.
Oh, the irony, talking about Google Fiber and having...
I think he needs Google Fiber.
This is the ideal situation.
Exactly. This is reason number one why you need Google Fiber, so you can do Google Hangout plus chats.
If anybody from Google if anyone from Google is watching this.
Exactly. They need Google Fiber in Randy's town. All right. Well, Randy will probably be back at some time when he figures out that he's no longer with us. We're no longer answering his questions. Maybe he just thinks we're ignoring him.
That's happened to me a couple times. It's kind of funny. Back in the early days.
All right. Now, our next topic, number 4 or number 3. That whole Sony thing has totally messed me up. The Motorola Photon Q has become official. The Photon Q is going to come with a 4.3-inch color boost display, ice cream sandwich, which I don't know why is not coming with, what's that new operating system? Oh yeah, Jelly Bean.
Jelly Bean.
But anyways, whatever. And they've decided that a dual-core processor will be good enough with a rear 8-megapixel camera doing 1080p. And it's going to come, of course, with a front-facing HD. And as well, what else is going to be on there? Mirror mode for when you're connected with HDMI cable, Sprint ID, NFC, and it's going to be one of the first QWERTY devices with 4G LTE. It is a nice looking phone. Have you guys had a chance to look at it, Mike?
I have.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Droid Mike probably is the best person to talk on this because I'm just now looking at it actually.
Just now. Thanks for the research on the show. Bud.
I'm quite excited about it actually.
You're excited for this phone?
As a Droid 1 owner, this is kind of like the real Droid 2 for me. What the Droid 2 should have been, or, well, I guess not what it should have been because the technology wasn't available then, but, you know, this is my spiritual successor to the Droid 2.
in the day and age when the QWERTY keyboard has all but almost disappeared except for on cheap low-end budget phones and those crappy droids that they keep on making.
Motorola.
This is probably the best QWERTY phone that we've seen in a little while.
Yeah, I was noticing it's got, I think the Droid 3 and 4 came with this, but it's got the backlit LED so you can see no matter what when you're typing. And I mean, if it stays at a good thinness even with the keyboard, people may not even use the keyboard, but it sure is nice to have when you need it.
Yeah, it looks really nice, and I mean, my phone before switching to Android was a BlackBerry Curve, and there are some days where I do miss the physical keyboard. Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, I miss it when I'm doing a full-on hardcore texting message. Sure could use that QWERTY keyboard. But do you think that now, we've gone through so many touchscreen phones nowadays, and that's where it's at. Do you think this is going to sell well? Is there still those dedicated QWERTY keyboard guys like Mike out there enough to support this device?
What's the screen size? Because that's going to sway a lot.
It's a 4.3, which I was kind of thinking that, it would have been nicer to get a little bit bigger of a screen on that.
I think if you make it too big, you've got to make the keyboard a bit bigger, though, if you think about it.
And the weight comes up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, did you say 4.3 inches is a little bit small? Because I think there's this phone. There's this one phone I've heard of, and it has a 3.5-inch screen, and it's always had a 3.5-inch screen.
I don't know which one you're talking about. Maybe someone named... never mind. It's none of our jobs to talk about that phone.
Yes, it is. It is our job to bash that phone as much as possible and put it down and totally make people repulsed by it. No, that's the company's. I'm sorry, it's not the phone.
They do that to themselves these days.
Exactly. Randy, you like QWERTY keyboards, don't you?
Fuck Apple and QWERTY keyboards.
Not QWERTY.
Yeah, I don't really. I had, the Droid 1. I was the first guy in line on release day at my Verizon store, and I've had enough. I don't need that again.
Mike, you're the only guy that is going to actually buy this phone.
Well, I didn't say I was going to buy it necessarily. I'm going to wait for the...
You're going to review it, right?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be reviewing it.
Yeah, tell you what, if Sprint is watching this, I will gladly take a Motorola Photon Q when it comes out.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm sure we'd all gladly
Sprint,
take one.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm still rocking the Evo 4G, the original.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hold that relic up again.
It's still alive.
Where is it?
Holy Jesus, what is that? 4 inches thick?
Hold on.
Something like that.
Are you not due for an upgrade soon, Mike?
Oh yeah, I'm way overdue for an upgrade. But the thing is the phone it does what I need it to do, and it's just fine.
It doesn't
I don't necessarily need a new phone, but I
do Jelly Bean.
Mike, you got Jelly Bean on it?
That's an Evo right there running Jelly Bean.
Oh.
Like shit.
It's a little slow, but I know they're...
Yeah,
it's a little slow. It opens like about after a minute.
This phone and this phone have the exact same processor in it. This one's running Jelly Bean like a wizard. This one has a very good chance of doing the same.
Yeah, except for it's got HTC Sense on it that probably slows it down slower than my grandmother crossing the street.
When you root and ROM it, it doesn't have Sense on it any longer.
Okay.
And that's what me and Mike have.
Well, now I wanted to get off to our number 2 story of the week. Number 2 story is our favorite topic. At least I know Randy's favorite topic, that's for sure.
Fuck Apple.
Exactly, Randy. Apple's phone design was influenced by Sony. Is that not amazing? I mean,
all right.
I feel sorry for Sony. I feel sorry for Apple that they chose Sony, who has some ugly-looking phones.
Back in the day, Sony was worthwhile, but...
Exactly.
2012, we'll see.
it just comes down to, Apple has been, trying to slam Samsung every which way that they can, drugging their name through the court, the mud, the press, the publicity, saying that, Samsung has copied everything that they've done, everything from hand movements, gestures, and I can't finish my rant, Randy. You want to interrupt me already?
Oh, I'll wait.
Okay.
I'll wait. I just want to get in line.
Oh, okay, you're in line. And, and they're accusing them of stealing everything, and the next thing their whole fucking phone was based around Sony, their idea, their mock-ups. I'm sure they stole some other stuff before from, who knows, BlackBerry, Bomb, other guys like that. I don't want to get too technical. I've read too much Apple stories this week, but, it's like they're worried about stealing and, they stole the design from, someone else already. It's just, they'll do anything, to get the heat off of them, but at the same time, they'll throw anyone under the bus. I'm sick of Apple. Fuck Apple. Randy, go at it. Kill them. Give it to them.
Well, hold on now. First of all, yes, fuck Apple, but this whole story is horse shit. Samsung took an iPad and an iPhone, and they aped the design. Apple hired a designer, well, actually, the guy was already in-house, and told him if Sony was going to design our phone, what would it look like? So, yeah, Apple said, a la Sony, come up with a phone design. Samsung said, here's an iPhone, get us as close to this as you possibly can, and try not to get us sued. And that's the part that they messed up on because they went too far. They're two totally different situations.
Sounds like the same to me. They both copied his design.
They didn't copy a design, no. Apple had a guy in-house, and they said, if Sony were going to design a phone for us, what would it look like? They didn't take a Sony phone that existed and say, ape this son of a bitch and get us as close as you can without getting us sued, which is exactly what Samsung did.
Well, to be fair, he's not only an in-house guy, he's the in-house guy at Apple.
It wasn't Johnny Ive that did the design. It was another guy. No. He worked for Johnny Ive, but it was not Ive himself.
I saw his name on the...
yeah.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah, it wasn't Ive himself.
Okay.
Was it Richard Holworth?
The name off the top of my head, I don't recall. But it's not like they picked up a Sony phone and said, let's somehow work an Apple logo onto this.
Misha Berry's design. Something like that. And,
yeah.
It's still the same, Randy. Come on. No, we don't want to slag them too bad.
But, yes, they said, okay, if Sony were going to design a phone for us, what would it look like? And then the initial iPhone, the first iPhone, didn't look anything like that. So, what? To me, it's apples and oranges, so to speak.
And in a little bit of street cred to Apple, I've always kind of felt in my own mind, at least the first versions of TouchWiz were too Apple-esque, and I never really liked the iOS. Even before I was really into Android, I didn't like the look and the feel of the iPhone. I had a choice in life. I was, looking at a Windows mobile operating system. I was looking at an iOS, and I was looking at Android, and obviously Android 1. But I've never liked the design. And when I started to play with the Samsung TouchWiz, it's like, wow, this looks a lot like Apple's iOS. Why do they do that? I hate it anyways, so that's why I didn't buy a Samsung for a while. And to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of TouchWiz, and I think they would be doing themselves a favor if they just, they're so large at this point. It's time to, separate themselves from the iPhone bullshit. Design the phones the way that they want, a new, fresh look as well too. Because let's face it, the iOS design is boring, and so is the TouchWiz in my mind. It's kind of time to steer away from that. Hopefully they do that pretty soon, so they can stop with this, crap with all these lawsuits. which I don't think are going to end anytime soon.
No,
You think it's going to end anytime soon, Randy?
No. It's just getting started.
That's my feeling.
I'm hoping a judge will just say stop. Everyone stops. If I hear anything like this again, you're going to have to go through me.
Take more than a single judge. It'll take more than a single judge.
They can
go to
appeal
Supreme
as many times as
Courts
they want.
Everything will go Supreme Courts and appeals. There's too much money involved, and that's what it all comes down to: is money. And
yeah, it almost makes me feel like Google's waiting to feel very threatened, because you can take down Samsung and somebody else will rise up. It almost feels like to me that Google's kind of waiting to be like, okay, now you've got us mad. Now we're going to bring out the big guns and shut down completely whatever you're doing. Because Google's just kind of sat by. They're not like, here, let us help you. Hey, we've got a whole bunch of patents for you. I mean,
They need to find that big gun.
I think on some places they can't come in and be like, hey, here's this, because it's a Samsung versus Apple issue. It really doesn't relate to Google all that much, but I think they are definitely waiting for that moment where they can be like, boom,
I think
they're done.
Google should charge Apple with stalking harassment. In the criminal court, get a restraining order on them, that they can't sell phones in the same continent, something like that.
You're in the U.S. now, son. That Canada stuff don't fly down here.
Yeah, that won't rock.
We do what we want to here.
Yeah.
Well, I think at some point you're going to see Google get involved with it. How can they not? They're trying to pick off every single one of their manufacturers.
Yeah, they've not been too successful, to be fair, though.
No,
HTC
but I mean
One
they're trying to hit them all.
Job.
They're hitting them all. They've hit almost every Android manufacturer, and nailed them for stuff that is Google Android based. Some is hardware, mind you, but some is software, and they're going at them for the Android system. Although, I think Apple's a little scared to poke at Google and directly to name them in a lawsuit. I call bullshit, Randy. I think so. I think if they could have, they would have put that out in a PR, huge-ass lawsuit. That would be like the best thing they could do. But I think that, honestly, they're worried about waking that sleeping bear, because I think Google is a little passive when it comes to lawsuits and defending their own. I think they're a little maybe some of it's, the merit on the patents and how far they can push it. But I think you start that war with Google, and no matter what, it's not going to end nicely for either of them. And I think it's going to be a huge collateral damage, and that's why they don't go after them. Go ahead.
But what will Google go after Apple with? What exactly does Apple have to fear?
I got an excellent answer for that. Can I throw it at you? They don't have anything specific to fear, just like half of the fucking patents that Apple has thrown into the court. Half of them are bullshit. Half of them aren't even, relevant or should even be heard in the freaking court. But because Apple has a shitload of money, they can scare and bully these OEMs and manufacturers. And I think that Google can go after them with whatever the hell they want, just because they have the money and the power to put the lawyers against them. They can have a fight about a swiping motion. That's all it needs to be about. And sue them for $500 billion in lost revenues. And it's not so much even the actual patent or what they're suing them about. It's the fact that they can turn it into a PR nightmare, and if they were, and sling them through the mud.
I thought I read that the ability to swipe down a notification list was on Google's patent list.
It's an application.
In an application? Okay.
It's just an application. Nothing that Google can do anything with. Other than to say to Apple, they can look at them and say, we've got this application for this here, and if it's granted, you're now aware that we have this patent application, and if it's granted to us, we can sue you for triple damages because it's willful infringement. But if Google had something that they could go at Apple with, they would have already done it.
What about this string of 1,600 Motorola patents that they've bought?
Well, those patents weren't doing Motorola a whole lot of good. Well,
Motorola wasn't doing itself a whole lot of good. They didn't know what the hell to do with them.
The key patents in that Motorola pile are FRAND encumbered patents. And I mean, I'm no patent expert, but I've read quite a bit about it, and it just doesn't seem like there's any there. There's nothing that they can, there's no smoking gun.
Well, if you can't find a smoking gun, then you should place one yourself and just go at them bullshit style, just like Apple's doing.
Just kind of like Apple's been doing
half of their patents that are in there are frivolous in my mind.
It might be bullshit and they might be frivolous, but they are patents that Apple owns. Apple was granted these patents, and until they're invalidated or until they lose on them in court, they're valid patents.
Right. You can't necessarily just blame Apple for these patents, because you got to think, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, they were the ones who approved these. They clearly did not do their research, but these guys approved them. So, Apple's not necessarily the main people that are wrong here. It's also,
the
people who approved the shit.
Broken. I've heard a lot of folks that have both on their blogs, not just Android blogs, but just a multi-tech blog that'll say it's not an Apple, it's not a Google, it's a patent system problem.
Patent system is flawed, it's broken, and
that's
a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, we're not going to go. I don't think we should go into that nearly at all.
No, not this week. Fuck Apple. Let's move on to our next topic. Our number one topic this week in our top 10 stories is Dead Trigger is now free due to unbelievably high piracy rates from Android.
Got a little bit to say on that one.
All right, Mike, I'll tell you what. Dead Trigger said this week that it's Mad Finger Studios, and they updated their app, and they said, however, that the reason why it was going free is because of the piracy rate on Android. It was unbelievably high, and it was only $1. And what else? They kind of threw out this big whole statement, whole hoopla about it, and that it was just so big that they decided, forget it, we'll make it free. Screw the people that have paid for it, and they gone free, and they clearly stressed that Dead Finger is now a free-to-play game, minus in-app purchases, right?
Yeah.
And what do you guys think about that? I have a few.
I, for one, read an article the other day posted by CyanogenMod team member Kushik Dutta. He was saying bullshit on that one. He was saying that he has his app that, unless you really know what you're doing, cannot be hacked or downloaded illegally. Once it is, and from what I can tell, there's a couple other providers that do this as well. But once it is downloaded illegally, it'll basically give you an error saying, "Hey, you didn't pay for this. What's going on?" And kind of funny that way. And he basically just said something along the lines of stop blaming your shortcomings of low sales of 99-cent apps on Android and start blaming it on yourselves. There's something called server-side DRM. Start using it, because that's basically what he uses, and he's just one man. He's not a whole company of people. From what I understand, he does have a pretty nice job, but he's definitely not a company of Madfinger's size. So basically, he was just blaming them for they weren't doing so well. He was saying that's his possibility of it all. I kind of agree with him.
He was claiming that Madfinger wasn't selling the numbers that it liked, so it blamed it on piracy and went free.
Yeah, basically, because there are plenty of solutions that Android offers to not have your app downloaded.
It doesn't really make economical sense, though, unless he decided to go with the in-app purchase, why you would, go to free anyways.
Well, you got to think though. I kind of side with Mike here. I think a lot of it is they just weren't selling enough, and so he came up with this story about all this piracy and how bad everything is. And look, we're talking about it now. The story is all over these different tech blogs about it.
Very popular.
And I'm sure that the game has gotten a lot more downloads than it has in a while.
Probably.
If you can't quantify, if you can just say piracy is rampant and get away with it, that's an issue in and of itself. Quantify, tell us how you know there are so many pirated versions, and then put a number on it. Don't chicken shit out of it. Just tell us, here's how we know how many we sold. We get that report from Google. And then using this method, this is how we know how many other people have access to the app, and this is the number. Otherwise, bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was no explanation. It was just piracy. That's it.
Yeah, the game needs to change a little bit. I've only played certain parts of it, and from what I understand, the first two levels, or the first zone you beat, by the time you're done, something happens and a zombie takes your gun or something, and then you're left with a pistol. So you have this awesome assault rifle to start the game, and then they give you a pistol, and they basically say, okay, you can earn it back with in-game coins, or right now you can buy the gun in real game money. And I think most people go, no, I don't want to play this game any longer. This is stupid. My gun was awesome. Now it's a pistol, and it's really hard to kill zombies. I'd rather not play anymore. So I kind of wonder if their attach rate was something they were pissed about too.
But in all fairness to Dead Trigger, on the other side of the coin, any type of piracy though is not a good thing. It's not good for Android.
No.
It's not good for the success of Android, and it doesn't attract other publishers. Obviously, a story like this, is something that maybe should be, dug a little deeper to see what the true numbers were. But this is not going to entice, a potential iOS developer to jump on over to Android when, they see the type of traction that this story generated. Some developers might be able to read through it and so on, but I tend to feel that maybe we could definitely do with a little more security features for the Android applications, because I know it is fairly easy to circumvent and get around the Android some of the security features and get applications onto phones quite easily.
We could use the security features that BlackBerry uses, not making very good phones, and then nobody wants to put an app on there. It's a good security feature.
There's no doubt that there's some piracy issues based around the security. I don't know. I'm not a developer, and I don't know what the numbers are. And I think it also comes back to maybe educating some of the users. I mean, there's lots of free games on there if you want to play free games, and don't pirate, the good games, because if you can't afford to play them, you shouldn't be playing them in the first place.
Yeah, pirate the shitty games, not the good games.
Exactly.
I would hope a developer that is reading that story would have the sense to say, okay, you say piracy's out of control. Can you provide a little more perspective? How do you know? What method are you using to track users, and how many pirated users were there? If you can't answer those questions, bullshit.
It'd be funny if Google came after them and said that.
I don't think Google's going to want to put out the numbers on the piracy.
Well, right. If Google acknowledges a story, that could potentially be more bad, PR.
It'd be funny if Google
I know,
came after them
and I'm
said,
sure all you guys know, when Android first dropped at a while, anything that costed any money was being pirated and was easily available through, several channels out there.
Yeah.
Now I think maybe people are getting away from, the pirated stuff. It's not worth it, and hopefully they're getting that mentality. I don't have a single problem, obviously, paying any developer for any app that I think looks great. I think it sucks that we can't return some of the apps, after a while, but that's another topic.
Back in the day, though, it was kind of an issue because we only had a handful of good apps, and they were taking the Nintendo stance on it. This is a good app. Let's charge $9 for it. This is a good app. Let's charge $5.99 for it. And it just wasn't something people were wanting to do.
I think
it's definitely become better now.
I'd like to see, you know, developers actually charge more money for the good apps. I think these guys deserve the money, and I think it'll encourage them to come back and develop better apps and put together better teams of developers, and you know, and push the envelope of what they can do. I don't mean rape the customers like a web OS who overcharges in some iOS games, but you know, 90% of our games are 99 cents and stuff like that. These guys put a lot of work into these games, you know, and some of these guys are not breaking even. It would be nice to see some of them rewarded for their hard work, and you know, be able to make $1 or $2 or more off of it as well too.
Yeah.
I think that the guy with Dead Trigger definitely needs to provide some more information if he wants some sympathy on there. But it definitely was an interesting story of the week, that's for sure. Topped my story of the week.
Yeah, I think it hit a lot of people. Almost every site I saw reported on it.
I am downloading it from a torrent site now.
Oh, great.
Nice.
Great. Yes, please, users at home, do not follow the black T-shirt wearing guy's advice. Download, pay for it, make Android successful. Other ways.
I've done a lot of these game reviews, and yeah, I got to tell you, this whole in-game currency thing, and I don't like it. But I think that there's more value for that in that way, in that method for the developer than selling the game for 99 cents. I think that might have been the whole end goal was, you know...
He found out his business model wasn't working, Randy?
Yeah. I mean...
Yeah. 99 cents plus in-game downloads is like, ugh.
Yeah, no one's not downloading it as much at 99 cents. So let's change up our system. Go to in-app purchases where guys might, you know, get addicted and spend $5, $10 instead of 99 cents once.
Yeah, I think maybe they thought they could have the in-app money and the 99 cents. And they were wrong.
So much so.
True that. Well, let's move on to our next segment of our show. It's Droid Mic Time. Droid Mic Time is brought to you by the Motorola HD. Atrix HD?
Atrix HD.
Okay. Mike, you want to pull that bad boy out and show these guys what the best looking mid-level Android smartphone looks like? I say mid-level.
Yeah, I could definitely say this is the best $99 Android smartphone. Well, more.
Not $99 because, you know,
I heard the one
Galaxy S2 might be at $99.
For now. For now, because I heard
it's
the one
the best mid-range phone.
Well, I don't know, because it's dual core. It's got 8 megapixel, I should say.
But it wasn't designed for our high-end crowds, obviously, to compete with the S3s and the Droid Razr Max, even though it's probably better than that right now, or the X1s or stuff like that. It was kind of for the middle of the ground.
Really, what took a lot out of it and what made it cheaper is there's not NFC, which, you know, kind of kills it for some people, especially the average Google. I guess Google.
What's NFC, Mike?
Much.
What's
NFC? Communication. It's the ability to make payments with wallet.
I just wanted to test it because I haven't seen I haven't been able to use NFC anywhere.
Really?
Yeah. What does it do again? Where? How? Thought it was dead.
Basically, well, it's what a lot of people are saying, especially Apple. Apple rumors anyway. Basically, you can use Google Wallet if you're a Sprint customer, and that's pretty much it. And make payments with NFC. Otherwise, you can just use little tags and program your phone to do volume off, volume on when you enter and exit the house. You can have your friends put it against the wall, and it'll do.
How many people are actually using this? 5?
I don't think it's super adopted right now.
I'm just
because iPhone hasn't said it's great.
It's still in like the uber early adopter stage.
Uber beta.
Yeah.
There we go. Randy's using an NFC. Swapping some apps.
It's kind of funny. Like I was
Dead
telling
trigger.
you, I don't think this is necessarily a mid-level phone. It's a dual-core, 1.5 gig Snapdragon.
Would you put it up there with the high-end feature phones that we like to rank and brag
Other than the
about?
battery life, it's right up there with the Razr Max for Motorola phones. It's got a few shortcomings that a lot of people wouldn't notice, but as a reviewer, I notice. The screen, for one, is definitely something I notice. It's just a little. If I look at it at a certain angle, I can see the individual squares that make up the screen, which I heard wasn't pentile, but it's definitely not something that I enjoy. It does have, it's 720. It's not the QHD that they've been touting for a while. It's the 720 screen, which is nice. It does look really nice, as you can see. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, give us a close-up on that.
It's thin.
I like the widgets here. If I can just interrupt you.
Back.
I put those widgets on my phone on my Nexus 7 there.
What were those called exactly? I can't remember.
The application for that? Oh, Randy has it too.
Yeah, Randy has it too on his phone.
Oh my God! I thought it was special. Screw that.
What's it called? Blur widgets or?
Blur widgets.
No, it's one more clock widget.
Yeah, exactly, Randy.
Okay, that does it. I also heard there was somebody on my forum, or excuse me, on my Google Plus page, on my forum. What's that about? That said you can get one that's called like Blur Sense or Blur.
Look
widget.
sharp. They have it's a nice looking widget, that's for sure.
By the way, Mike, the Kevlar back, does that also deflect bullets?
I've yet to try that. I'll definitely call Motorola up and see if I can hold that against my heart.
I'm not sure
see what happens.
Kevlar stuff.
It's kind of
It'll hammer nails.
Yeah, I heard it does.
It's for when you're driving through the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is a pretty nice phone though, and it's got these cool features that I show off in the video on youtube.com/Android Headlines. I can't really show them off here because it really wouldn't work so well.
But you said you really like the new Motorola Blur-esque design. Is it called Blur still?
A couple years ago or a year ago, they said don't call it Blur anymore.
Okay,
and then they never gave it a name. They never gave it a name after that. But it looks like stock Android with some subtle changes, which is actually really nice. It kind of reminds me of like the Transformer Prime in a way, how they have their subtle changes, but it's still considered stock pretty much. I mean, your notification bar basically looks the same. When you drop down the notification tab, of course it's going to have the settings that look the same because you've got to. That's an Android qualification for Android 4 ICS, which this is indeed running. It's just got enough subtle changes that makes it its own different thing, but it doesn't make it bad. I mean, it really is quite nice.
There's a non-removable battery on there. Is that
non-removable battery, which makes it so it's a little bit thinner.
And that's 8 GB of onboard storage. Is there removable storage on that?
There is an SD card on there. Yeah, you can just
not many.
You can put down the flap right there, and you got my LTE card and then the SD card as well. It's got the HDMI out at the top, which used to make it expensive in the past, but I guess they found a way around that. Basically, all that it doesn't have is LTE, and the screen is not Samsung quality, but Motorola's never really claimed to do that. It's got your smart actions on there. It's really quite nice. That's what makes me so excited for the Photon Q, because that's a phone I can actually buy. This one's on AT&T, which has its own shortcomings. I don't bring in carrier into the review. I don't know if I would rate it as high.
How is the battery life, Mike? Because checking out the specs.
So far, it's been pretty sad.
Sad?
It's been pretty sad lately, yeah. I can't
So this ain't from the Razr Max family, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's more in the Razr family, not in the Max family.
It's got a 1930 milliamps battery. which definitely isn't in the
I'm
same ballpark.
I'm reading 1780. Where are you getting?
Well, we're getting that off of GSM Arena. They quoted at 1930, but let's meet in the middle.
Yeah, it's around 1800.
There we go. What the hell?
Okay. Either way, it should last way longer than it does, and I don't know if it's just the AT&T service where I am, that's a good chance.
So I definitely would say that this is a mid-range phone then. If it's got ice cream sandwich, right?
Yeah, and I mean I'm sure it's definitely getting its upgraded Jelly Bean, but you know, with Motorola kind of being behind and then announcing basically the same phone on Sprint with a keyboard, because that's more or less what the Photon Q would be, a little bit of an upgraded version of this phone with a keyboard on it. I don't know if they're going to be updating any of their phones too soon. I mean, the Razer Max just got ICS barely.
All right, well, thanks for showing that to us, Mike. Very appreciative.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Now, you wanted to add something in here. Just a quick comment. We're in such the early stage that even discussing this is kind of premature, premature ejaculation here. The Galaxy Nexus S, Nexus Q. I mean, wow, this is
Randy's
like so early, but let's have some fun. You saw this mock-up. The mock-up on our website looks great. I'll take 5. Looks sharp. Obviously, it was done by somebody who doesn't work at Samsung or any of the major OEMs.
It definitely looked like it could have looked like a Motorola phone. I mean, it had the squared off look to it.
And it probably won't even look remotely close to this awesomeness, because the guys at the OEM manufacturer will have some way of screwing it up, so it won't even look close to that. But the rumored specs on it are a 5-inch 720p Super AMOLED display, Corningware Gorilla Glass 2, 32 gigabyte storage, 8 gigabytes of RAM. Jesus, why didn't they just make it 16? Obviously, somebody has a dream machine. Somebody's been building PC computers for too long.
If you're going 16, why not just go 32? I mean,
yeah, exactly. That should make 32 storage, 32 RAM. HSDPA plus connectivity. I guess he's a mobile fan. Bluetooth 4.0. 12 megapixel camera, 1080p support with 30 frames a second. 2 megapixel front-facing camera. I'm kind of surprised they cheaped out on that. I was waiting for at least 10.
Yeah, at least.
Phone's gonna suck. 32 milliamp battery. Not sure why it's not 5,000 or maybe 10 grand or something like that would have been better. And only Android 4.1 Jelly Bean. I mean, it should be running 5.0.
Android 6.
Android 6, exactly. And only a Tegra 3 quad-core processor.
It's kind of funny because I don't see them calling the Galaxy the Nexus 2, especially since there's a rumored 3 developers working on new Nexus devices.
I think it'll be the Nexus 5.
I'm sure they're going to call... I kind of wonder if the developers will just call it whatever they want. It'll be the Nexus whatever the hell. The
Nexus Prime, Jelly Bean, Lightning Storm, Tidal Wave, Tsunami, Orange Juice, and whatever else they want. Plus, HD.
And I think the reason they put the HSPA Plus on there is because so far Google hasn't been too much of a fan of the Verizon and Sprint variations, which obviously run on the CDMA network.
I will say with the next generation Galaxy Nexus, I could possibly see like a 5-inch screen, because if you think about it, the Nexus 1 was like a 3.7, they kept growing, and then now like the Galaxy Nexus is 4.65-inch screen. So I could possibly see 5-inch, but I
agree with you, Mike, and I definitely want to see that size of screen, because I would like to purchase one with that type of screen. Sorry,
it'll end up being like a 5.25, so they can leave room for their little buttons on the bottom and still have it be a 5.
I say Nexus Note. Anyways,
Randy,
what do you think about all these Nexus crazy rumors? Too early, or just everyone having fun?
Dude, everybody's just having fun. You know, the Galaxy Nexus is 7 or 8 months old, it's time for the rumors to start.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that dude, whoever smoked that up, saw the black iPhone 5 mock-ups that were done, because I think that was pretty heavily inspired by that. They shared a lot of similarities, but those specs, I mean, I got to find out where he's getting his weed, because I need me some of that.
Google makes their devices cheaper.
I thought you were going to say Google makes him his weed. Anyways.
No. Yeah, maybe. You never know. It's California.
That's their next service.
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah.
It's from the bong. Yeah, no, in all fairness, the new Nexus device, rumors are going to be starting up. I think it's maybe about 3 weeks too early.
Yeah,
let's give it till mid-August, maybe September 1st.
September 1st is when we heard the last time about the Galaxy Nexus.
And it's all in fun. Everyone wants to speculate on the new device, how great it's going to be. I mean, if I had $1 for every new Nexus rumor upcoming in the next few months, I'd be able to retire by November. Same as like an iPhone rumor. All these mock-ups and prototypes. Just let everyone know that 90% of these prototypes aren't even remotely close to what you're going to see at an end product. Manufacturers could only be so lucky to design some of these.
It's kind of like, here's a leaked prototype. Okay, well, that's over 5 months old, and the design has changed 8 times between now and then.
Well, I think what they do is the OEMs, they actually go and they look at these mock-ups that were done for last year's devices, and they use those. The new ones, those are a little too far ahead of their time.
So maybe we'll see this mock-up for next year's phone.
Yes.
That'd be great.
All right, Mike, you want to give away something? Let's give away one of those Motorola Roadster 2.
Yeah, the other one.
Bluetooth speakerphone jobbies, brought to you by Motorola, who we pleasantly bashed earlier. So I'm sure they'll be sending tons of these over for us to give away next week. So if you don't see one of these away on next week, you'll know why, because we're bashing Motorola. But anyways, here it is. Mike's got it. What does it do, Mike? Give us a little 411911 and.
Well, basically, you can attach it into your car, and you can drive safely. I'm not sure if it's.
And not get a ticket or crash into park.
I won't say you should. Android Headlines does not endorse that you will not get a ticket from using one of these, because I don't know your state law. But there's a better chance of it because you don't have a phone to your ear. Chris, I believe you have one. Have you been using it or no?
I do not have one.
Okay.
The wife has one. She's been using
okay.
it. And I can say 99% that it has improved my safety when I'm in the car with her.
Right. And this is any Bluetooth. So, I mean, it's going to work with Motorola phones, I believe, better. But I believe
it works really well with any phone, and it pairs up really quick. It's got a loudspeaker on it.
Doesn't it have like an app to it or something that you can download that it coincides with? Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't read
really
the
loud.
Instructions. Anyways.
The instructions are inside the box. I can't. This is a sealed box for our
Who
viewers.
keeps the instructions? Who reads that stuff anyways?
Yeah. It claims it has Motorola Car Finder, which I guess is definitely an app. It remembers where you parked. It has voice controls, which means I guess you can talk to it. The voice on it's quite nice. And you can amp up your audio because it's quite loud.
Yes, it is quite loud, and I do like that. So we're going to give one away. Be the 5th person to email us at androidheadlines@gmail.com, and we will give this away to you. That's androidheadlines@gmail.com. The 5th person. Last week it was the 5th. Was it 4 billionth person to email us? This week we made it a little easier, and only the 5th person to email us. So
be that person.
You all have a chance to win it.
We will mail you one out.
Now, I think that's about everything for our show tonight, unless anybody would like to add anything else. Randy, you got anything you'd like to add?
I'm all out. Fuck Apple, but other than that, I'm good.
There we go. I knew you were
I knew it.
Fuck Apple. Right on. Great.
Sneak it in there.
Thanks for being on the show, Randy. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. It was a pleasure to have you back on the Android Headlines. Oh.
My pleasure. It's fun.
Mike S., thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Yes, it was fun again.
Droid Mike, always a pleasure. We'll see you next week. But in the meantime and in between time, that's been it for the Android Headlines Show. Good night, stay safe. See you next weekend, guys.
Bye.
See ya.